My in-laws made me sleep in the garage when their cousins came to visit. It's just for the weekend, my husband said. It was winter. I slept next to paint cans and boxes. But when I found my phone and opened the recording app, I didn't grow up with a big family, so when I met Eric and saw how close he was to his parents and cousins, I thought it was a good thing. I thought, this is what I always wanted: connection, tradition, support. I didn't realize it meant I'd always be the outsider. We met in Kansas City. I was managing a small pharmacy. He was doing IT contract work and passing through. We dated long distance for a year before he asked me to move to Cedar Rapids. I gave up my apartment, transferred to a lower-paying job, and moved into his house. I didn't ask for anything. I just wanted to be close to him. From the start, his parents were in our lives constantly. They had keys to his house. Which I didn't know until one Saturday morning, before I had even put on a bra, his mom let herself in to drop off a pie. She didn't knock, just walked in and gave me a look like I was the intruder. Still, I tried. I learned how his mom liked her green beans. I remembered birthdays. I showed up to every cookout and fish fry and acted like it didn't sting when his mom handed out family Christmas cards with Jenna's name still on them from 2 years before. I kept hoping they'd warm up to me. They never did. I always felt like I was walking into a room I hadn't been invited to. They had inside jokes, stories I didn't know, and every time I tried to join in, I got that look, that tight-lipped smile people give when they're just waiting for you to shut up. Eric saw it. He knew. But every time I brought it up, it became my problem. You read into things too much. Why can't you just let things go? They're not trying to hurt you. Maybe they weren't trying to. But it didn't mean they weren't doing it. Then came Christmas. His mom called him to say the Minnesota cousins were coming, 2 adults, 3 teenage boys, and 4-year-old twin girls. I heard him say, "Yeah, that's a lot." And then he hung up and told me flat out, "We need to give up our room." I said, "So we'll sleep on the couch?" He said, "Well, I'll take the couch. You'll take the garage." I thought he was kidding. "No, seriously," I said. "Where are you sleeping?" He said, "It's just for the weekend. We'll put the cot out there. It's not a big deal." It was 23 degrees outside. The garage had no insulation. The space heater they gave me clicked loudly all night but barely raised the temperature. There were open paint cans, boxes of Christmas stuff, and a dead mouse in a trap near the water heater. I didn't cry. I just lay there thinking, this is what they think I deserve. No one came to check on me. Not even Eric. The cousins slept in our bed. I heard them laughing and stomping around from the garage. I was too cold to sleep and too stunned to even be angry. I kept thinking, maybe I'm overreacting. Maybe they needed the space. Maybe it really is just one weekend. But on the second night, around 9:30, I realized I didn't have my phone. I went inside through the laundry door. Everyone was still around the dinner table, laughing, playing cards. My phone was on the kitchen counter, right where I'd left it earlier that day. When I picked it up, I noticed the red line at the top, voice memo recording. I must have hit it by accident when I was grabbing my charger. It had recorded 1 hour and 17 minutes of audio. I almost deleted it, but something told me not to. I put in my earbuds, crawled back onto the cot, wrapped myself in the scratchy blanket they gave me, and hit play. For the first few minutes, it was just background noise, plates clinking, the twins laughing, someone talking about the weather. Then I heard his mom. She just thinks she's better than us. I see the way she looks at me when I talk. Then his aunt said, "She's never really fit in, has she?" That's when his cousin, Jason, I think, said, "Why'd he even marry her? Did he knock her up?" Then came the worst part. Eric laughed. My husband laughed and said, "She wasn't my first choice." Someone else asked, "Then why'd you settle?" He said, "I was tired of being alone." She was available. It made sense at the time. I paused the recording. My hands were shaking so bad, I nearly dropped the phone. But I made myself keep listening. His dad said, "She doesn't have any people. No real family. You think she's gonna go anywhere?" Eric said, "She won't leave. She's too scared to start over." I didn't cry. I just sat there, staring at the oil stains on the concrete. I stayed quiet through the next morning, smiled through brunch. I handed out the presents I had wrapped so carefully and watched them hand me gift cards and say, "Oh, we didn't know what you liked." They didn't care what I liked. They never did. But I did know one thing now. I wasn't crazy. They really did hate me. And Eric? He didn't just let it happen. He fed it. He wanted me isolated. He wanted me small. I didn't make a scene. I didn't yell. I acted exactly the way they expected me to, meek, grateful, silent. And while they all laughed around the fireplace, I opened a new bank account. I started a list. Not of things they'd done. Those I already knew. I started a list of what I was going to do next. After New Year's, the cousins finally left. Eric went back to work like nothing happened. He didn't say a word about the garage. Didn't ask how I slept. I stopped talking to him unless I had to. He didn't notice. Or maybe he just didn't care. I told him I was going to visit my aunt in Des Moines for a weekend. He nodded and said, "Sure, take a break. You've been on edge lately." I nodded too. But I didn't go to Des Moines. Instead, I checked into a hotel under a different name. I needed quiet. I needed space to think. I listened to that recording again and again until I had every line memorized. Then I uploaded it to a hidden cloud folder and sent a backup to my best friend in Kansas City, just in case. That same weekend, I went through our files, bank accounts, house documents, insurance. I learned the mortgage was in his name, but I had been paying half since I moved in. I saw how he'd drained $3,200 from our savings the week before Christmas to buy gifts for his family. I never saw a receipt. Never got a thank you. He used my money to make them happy. So I started my own file. A real one. Printed everything I found. I took photos of the garage. I even snapped a few shots of the cot, the space heater, the broken window with frost coming through. Then I made a spreadsheet. Money I had contributed, groceries I paid for, bills in my name, including the utilities he forgot to pay more than once. I didn't want a messy divorce. But I knew that if I just left, he'd spin the story. He'd cry to his family. She just walked out. After all we did for her. So I waited. February came, and his mom called to plan his birthday dinner. I heard her say, "Just family, no extras." Then she paused and added, "Unless she's still around." He smiled, and said, "She's fine. She won't cause drama." He didn't know I was standing behind him. That night, I moved some things to a storage unit. He didn't notice. He never noticed anything that wasn't about him. But then something strange happened. I got a text from his cousin, Jason, the one who made the knock her up joke. It said, "Hey, I was drunk. Didn't mean it. Sorry if you heard anything." That text told me two things. 1. Eric had shared the recording. 2. They were starting to get nervous. So I tested it. I responded, "What exactly do you think I heard?" He didn't answer. That same week, Eric started getting nicer. Brought home takeout. Asked if I wanted to go out to a movie. Told me I looked good in the morning. It was fake. I saw it all for what it was, damage control. And then I made my move. I printed out transcripts of the voice recording and left copies in 3 places. In the glove box of his truck, under the bathroom sink, and in his gym bag. He found them. I got home that night, and he was pacing the living room, holding the pages like they were on fire. "You went through our stuff?" he said. "Our stuff." I said, "You mean your stuff? Like your family, your conversations, your lies?" He started raising his voice, accusing me of spying, of being paranoid. I didn't raise mine. I just said, "You weren't my first choice either. But I didn't throw you in a garage." That shut him up. He stormed out and spent the night at his parents'. I didn't care. I used the time to pack more boxes. The next morning, his mom called me. She said, "I don't know what you think you heard, but we've always welcomed you." I said, "Then why did you tell your cousins I was a mistake?" Silence. Then she said, "You're being very immature." I hung up. Eric came back 2 days later. He had flowers. I didn't open the door. He stood there knocking and saying my name for 15 minutes. I stood on the other side with my phone recording again just in case. He finally left. But I wasn't finished. I still had one thing left to do. The one thing that would finally make them all understand. I wasn't the one who didn't belong. They were. I thought I had the upper hand. I thought the silence, the distance, the evidence. I thought it was enough to shake him. But Eric wasn't done. Not by a long shot. 3 weeks after I locked him out, I got served a formal eviction notice. His name was on the house, and legally he had the right to file. Even though I'd paid thousands toward the mortgage, none of it had been in writing. No lease. No agreement. Just trust. I stared at the document in my hand, the one that gave me 30 days to leave the home I had helped build, cleaned, cooked in, hosted his damn family in. And he had the nerve to include a post-it on the envelope. I'll help you pack if you're overwhelmed. That was the moment something inside me snapped. Not in a loud way. Not even angry. It was cold, quiet, focused. I contacted a woman I used to work with, Maria, whose sister worked for a local legal aid clinic. I told her everything. I sent her photos, bank records, screenshots of text messages. She connected me to an attorney who worked pro bono with domestic financial abuse cases. The term startled me. Financial abuse. But it fit. And then came the twist I didn't expect. The attorney asked, "Do you know if his name is the only one on the deed?" I said yes. She asked, "But do you know about the title?" I didn't. Turns out the house wasn't solely in Eric's name. When we refinanced 2 years earlier, my name had been added to the title. Not the mortgage, but the title, which meant, legally, I wasn't just a tenant. I was a co-owner. I had just as much right to that property as he did. So, I didn't leave. Instead, I filed a petition to partition the property. That meant if Eric wanted me gone, he'd either have to buy out my half or sell the house entirely and split the proceeds. Suddenly, I had leverage. Real leverage. But I didn't tell him right away. I waited until the next family dinner, when he finally invited me to come talk things out. His parents, his cousin Jason, even his sister were there. They all looked smug when I walked in, like I was coming to grovel. Eric started talking like he was giving a speech. "We think it's best to just part ways, no drama. If you're out in 30 days, I'll let you keep the furniture." I let him finish. Then I handed him a folder. "Actually, you'll be leaving. I'm co-owner of the house. If you want me out, you'll have to buy me out at full market value. I already filed the petition." His mom went pale. His sister's mouth actually dropped open. Eric grabbed the papers like he couldn't believe what he was reading. "You can't do this." I looked him dead in the eye and said, "You told your dad I had no people, that I wouldn't leave because I was too scared to start over." Then I stood up and walked out. I wasn't done yet. I still had the recording. I still had receipts. But now I also had something they didn't expect. Power. And I knew exactly how I was going to use it. Eric tried to stall the legal process. He claimed I hadn't contributed financially, said I was lying about the money I spent. His lawyer even suggested I was just a bitter wife trying to punish a good man. So, I submitted everything. Bank records, grocery bills, utility payments, a spreadsheet showing 2 years of Venmo transfers from my account to his, labeled mortgage. A screenshot of the $3,200 he drained in December, followed by photos of him and his family opening presents I never got to touch. I attached the transcript of the recording. I didn't care if it embarrassed him. I wanted it to. The judge didn't rule right away. But within weeks, Eric realized something. He couldn't afford to buy me out. The market was high. Our neighborhood had jumped in value. And with the evidence I submitted, my claim to half the equity was solid. So he had no choice. The house went on the market. He begged me not to talk to the realtor. I did anyway. I showed the realtor the garage, the broken space heater, the cot, the smell of paint still lingering in the air. I didn't lie. I just told the truth. And let her decide what to disclose. The house sold, but not for what Eric hoped. And because I had the paper trail, I walked away with just under $94,000. It wasn't just about the money. It was the fact that he had to move back in with his parents, the same ones who laughed about me behind my back. His old room was still painted baby blue. His dad made him mow the lawn. His mom told people, "He's just regrouping." I moved into a quiet apartment outside Iowa City. It wasn't fancy, but it was mine. I bought myself a new bed. I made a list of rules. Number 1. No visitors who don't knock. Number 2. No family who acts like they're doing me a favor by letting me exist. Then I took the recording, the one of their Christmas dinner, and posted it anonymously in a private Facebook group for local women dealing with toxic in-laws. I didn't name names. I didn't have to. One of Eric's cousin's wives was in that group. Within a week, the story made the rounds. People connected the dots. Jason's wife left him. She messaged me once, just a single sentence. "Thank you for showing me who he really was." I never replied. Eric sent me one more message months later. A long text, full of half apologies and memories. "Remember the lake? I miss the way you used to make chili. I didn't mean to hurt you." I read it once, deleted it, and blocked him. But the best part? The final piece? His mother, the queen bee, lost her place at church. Someone sent the recording to her Bible study group. I didn't do it. I didn't have to. One of the women there had been through something similar and recognized the voices. Word got around. Her position as the kind heart of the congregation didn't survive. She had to step down. That was the moment I stopped feeling angry. Not because she was humiliated, but because I didn't care anymore. They made me sleep in a garage. They laughed at me when they thought I was invisible. They tried to erase me like I was a mistake. But I didn't disappear. I stood in the cold, listened to every word, and made a choice. I would not be small. I would not be quiet. I would not let them win. And now, I sleep warm, alone, peaceful. No more paint cans. No more boxes. No more lies. Just silence, and the kind of freedom you only earn after walking through fire.